I am really excited about this particular webinar. This is a little different than our usual. It's not necessarily about a stage of ADI or a scaffold of ADI. This is something that kind of can be used to augment what you're already doing in your classroom with ADI. So Peergrade, Adam's going to tell you all about it. But I've gotten a chance to use it. I've gotten a chance to talk to teachers that use it, and it is a really cool way to do peer review in your classroom. And if you've struggled with finding oh, hey, there's me. If you've struggled with finding a method to make peer review for ADI or for anything else happen digitally, this is going to be something that's going to work really, really well for you. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to your main man here today, Adam. That's a great Bitmoji. That's really nothing characterizes your personality better than that. That's fabulous.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, if I'm running, there's something else involved if I'm going for a run, and now I'm kind of hungry. Thanks everyone. I appreciate you coming to our webinar here. We're just going to jump right into it. First, starting out with some goals for what this webinar is. So first, I do want to review ADI, our stage 7, really quickly, kind of set the stage for kind of what it should look like and what it can look like. Then I do want to just introduce Peergrade as a great platform and a really easy to use and intuitive platform for doing the peer review online. And then I also want to explain, as we usually end our webinars, how we can support you in the classroom and the resources that we have available for you guys. So jumping in, for those that maybe are new to ADI or just need a quick refresher, stage 7 is our double-blind group peer review. Each student's paper is going to get peer reviewed by a group, usually of 3. We have students fill out rubrics that look like this. We'll talk a little bit more about this in one of our YouTube videos on peer review. So here's just a quick overview of what our rubrics look like, and you can see some of the feedback on the left side columns there of what students provide to each other. But also not just, why, and it's important to set up why do we do peer review. So I love this quote about students often learn more about writing from reviewing and critiquing the work of others than they do from completing a writing assignment and then being graded by the teacher. So we do the peer review not because it's a way for students to do our jobs for us and so we can be lazy and not have to grade things. We do the peer review because it's difficult, it's challenging, but it also helps students learn more than what we traditionally do in the classroom of just providing a grade and moving on. And so we say that peer review helps produce better readers because of these 4 ideas. So I hate reading slides to you, but I can't really see any of your faces, so I'm just going to read them. So students do a very close reading of the text. They also make connections to personal experiences, aka they have just done this lab, so it is a personal experience to them. They identify key areas and ideas in the text and evaluate them. And students also have a reason to monitor comprehension and make adjustments, such as going back and rereading close again, as well as asking questions. We say that peer review helps improve students' writing skills by seeing both strong and weak examples. They also get to focus on this rubric, this criteria that doesn't change over time. So whether it's your first ADI or your 15th of the year, the same rubric really gives students and teachers good information about, are my students getting better at communicating about science? Students discuss what counts as quality and develop those norms. It's a really good way of improving your writing. And of course, the original authors also get useful feedback about how to improve. So we do the peer review for these reasons, not because it's supposed to make your life easier as a teacher. It does, but it really is for the students. So as a quick review of what that can look like in the classroom, we want to show you what the paper and pencil version often looks like. So with some slides, thanks to Ashley here, we have students in groups of 3. We strongly recommend groups of 3. It does not have to be the same 3 students that started the lab. They could have done the data collection in groups of 4. For the peer review, I recommend put them in groups of 3. You need to find a way to make a couple copies of each student's report, so you have 3 copies available for each student. If you can't make copies there, you can sit your students in a way where they can look over each other's shoulder and kind of look at the same report, but it's definitely a lot easier when you have 3 copies available of each student's report. So you have your groups numbered 1, 2, 3. Every student has 3 copies of their paper available that you have. You're then going to give those 3 copies of a different student's report to the group. So each group is looking at the same paper, looking at 3 copies of the same paper. They're going to fill out a peer review, one group, one paper at a time. This takes about 15 minutes to do. When each group is done, or after 15 minutes, however you want to organize it, you're going to collect those peer reviews from the group. And then they're going to get another copy, another 3 copies of a different student's report. So again, each group is looking at the same report, but it is a different one they looked at. So each group of 3 is going to do 3 peer reviews at about 15 minutes each. So it is one of our longer stages. But again, it's really valuable, and it kind of looks like this. So it doesn't matter how many students you have, whether you have a small class or a large class, each group of 3 is going to do 3 peer reviews. And therefore, each student's paper is finally reviewed once by a group of 3. So each paper gets peer reviewed by one group of 3. And again, I know I'm flying through this. We have a YouTube video on peer review if you're a little more new to the ADI process. So the digital version of using Peergrade I think is actually a lot easier to do. I think you might recognize doing the paper and pencil version requires a lot of logistics. How do you double blind this? How do you make copies and have those ready to go? There are logistical questions that do require some solutions depending on your campus. That can be easier or not so easy to solve. So here, let us solve this with Peergrade and doing an online peer review. So here's why we like Peergrade. It is paperless. That is fantastic. None of us want more trees being cut down than have to, so cut down on the paper use in your classroom. And we know a lot of schools are going one-to-one and paperless classrooms all over the country. It is automatically double blind. With a couple different versions of Peergrade, you can change that to let students see, but naturally the default is a double blind for you. Students can upload from Google Drive. We'll look at file links. They can type their text directly into it. They can upload PDFs. It's a great way for students to be able to submit different types of papers. It gives you a central place to see your students' feedback, keeping up with 500 copies of paper. There are options there to require comments in the rubric. Students also get to give feedback on the quality of their feedback and let each other kind of improve on the improvement process there. So let students improve how they help improve each other. And there's, of course, a chance of plenty of ways to look at a lot of different data. We'll look at a couple examples you can see as the teacher view there. So a lot of different things you can see from a couple clicks of a button that you would not be able to get without a lot of work if you were just using paper and pencil. So again, love Peergrade. Let's jump in. I just did a bunch of screenshots coming up. So it's not the most beautiful and eloquent with video, but we're just going to look at a couple screenshots. I promise it's really easy to use, and in person it looks better on the web than it does just with a screenshot. So first, what I really like about it is it's so easy to get students started. So when you first create a class, you can get a class code. Students just go to peergrade.io, not .com, peergrade.io/join, and they enter your code. This I think it's like a 6-letter code. Again, really easy for students to join your class this way, but you can also manually input students or upload a CSV file. So there are several different ways to make classes, but in a workshop, we just say, hey, join this class. So you first go to this website, peergrade.io/join, type in the code, you're now a member of that class. You do have to either create an account or log in. But again, I love this about Peergrade is that it's just your name, your email, and a password. We're not collecting any kind of birth date, social security numbers, bank account info, nothing like that. It is just name, email, and password. So it takes literally 30 seconds to create an account if your students don't already have one. And it really doesn't take much at all. So create a new account. Don't be afraid. It will just take a few seconds there. Once you're in, the students are going to look like this. So I'm looking at, if you notice in this bottom right, I'll be using my mouse today to kind of show some things here. I'm impersonating the student. So as a teacher, you can jump in and see what any of your students see at that moment. So right now I'm impersonating the student Ahmed and seeing what his screen looks like. So when your students first log in, you're going to see kind of the next up assignments that are due, as well as any kind of past or future assignments coming up. But here are the ones that we're going to focus on here. You notice there's a green submit button, and there's also a green give feedback button. So for a paper that you're writing during stage 6, you're going to make them submit first before they can give feedback. So you can set the due date and due date time for students to submit. So let's take a look. If I click the submit button, students have this option here. I can upload a file. I can go to the Google Drive. You can disable or you can enable letting students submit a link. And then you can also have students type directly into Peergrade, type the text if you want them to type their reports directly into Peergrade. So several different ways for students to submit their paper. You as a teacher can control which ones you want the students to use. But again, really easy to upload a file, really easy just to copy and paste text directly in there. If we went back and remember the example here where, so say now you've submitted your feedback as a student, it is time to, let's give feedback. Let's actually look at this peer review. It's going to kind of look like this. So for an assignment that says give feedback, everyone's submitted, it's your turn to now give feedback. It's going to look like this. Over here on the left side is going to be, whether it's your submission or the submissions you're reviewing, it's going to be what the students have turned in. So you as a student are going to see someone's paper here, and the rubric's going to be on the right side. So with ADI as a group, you're going to fill out this rubric together, asking and answering the questions. And at the end of each section, like in the ADI rubric, if there's anything that you said no or partially to, there's a chance for you to provide feedback to the author. So really easy. It's just on one screen. Whatever the student submits over here is on the left. The rubric's over here on the right. And students in small groups will go through and complete the rubric. What's nice about this rubric is that even before they submit it, there's a little bit of feedback for the students. You've submitted, in this case, you've written 6 fewer words or 42 fewer words than the average student, whatever it may be. That might be a little hint of, oh, maybe I haven't given enough feedback here. So I really like this. Give students just a quick little, maybe I wrote too much, maybe I didn't write enough before they submit. So I really like that. This will be at the bottom before they click that final green submit feedback button. So from the student's view, this is pretty much what you need here. How to submit and then how to do the peer review. Of course, there's some React and results things up here as well. We don't need to get into the details of peer review right now and Peergrade, but for what you need, and easy for students to use the first time, and they maybe have already used it in their English classes, so they might already have an account, is just to look at the submission and then look at the review. So from the teacher side, again, I keep saying it, but it is really intuitive. I hopped right in and it makes it really easy to figure out what you want to do. So you log in as a teacher. One of the first things you need to do is create a class. Here are some example classes that I've created and the people at Peergrade have created for me to kind of use as demos. So again, you click on the Create Class button, name the class whatever you want, and go from there. I think if you're curious though, once inside a class, you find this Create Assignment button. Again, very intuitive. Here there are 3 screens, the details, the rubric, and the template. The details, simply title it, put a little description on there. You can even upload a file if you want. The rubric here, so the ADI rubric, just send an email with Tyler. Tyler said they're going to make it searchable. So there will be a way to search for the ADI rubric and just plop it right into your assignment. So you don't have to make it every single time. You can search, find the ADI rubric, and throw it into your assignment. It's really easy to edit and modify any questions that you want to change, whether you're creating a rubric from scratch or whether you're using the full ADI rubric. It is, again, really easy to modify any section or any question. And finally, the last piece before your assignment goes live is figuring out what kind of template you want to use. And for most teachers and students, they're going to use this idea of the homework one, where, hey, there's a deadline for submitting your submission, and then there's a deadline for the peer review. If the live session, as soon as students submitted a paper, they would be allowed to go to the peer review. So usually we kind of make it more linear flow. We would recommend you use the homework, but if you just wanted to try it out in class and see how it goes, you can make it a live session. All right. So speaking of some data that you have available, some kind of templates you can see really easily inside of the Peergrade here in the Overview tab, again, viewed as a teacher, is that this is an assignment that's been completed. I can see the dates that it was open and closed. I can see when I opened the feedback and when I shut down the feedback. I can see that all of my 14 students, that'd be an awesome class size there, all 14 students have submitted their papers, and 13 out of the 14 have submitted and given feedback. So just a quick overview thing here. How well did have my students completed it? I can see if there's any flags that I haven't attended to yet. Flags are created by students when there's something they say is suspicious or vulgar. There's also Peergrade will automatically flag a lot of the curse words and things like that. So they're working on some algorithms there. But you'll see if there's any place you need to go immediately with the use of flags. So again, here on the overview tab, really easy to see how are my students doing and how are we doing on that feedback. The next tab over here, we're going to jump over to the submissions tab under results. So if you click on results, you're going to get a couple other tabs inside of there. Here on the results tab, I'm first going to look at submissions. So here I can see, and there's a lot of different attributes you can select and sort by. I can look at this one I really like is the agreement. So did these reviewers agree on the rubric? A quick glance here will show you kind of how your class is doing. And if there's low agreement, then maybe we need to work on practicing peer review. If there's only low agreement on a few students, then you can look to see which students those are and kind of meet them where they're at. But I really like that Peergrade has a little algorithm to see how consistent are your peer reviews. You can also see the submission score here and the number of reviews that the students have done. And when you create an assignment, you can set the number of reviews. So in ADI, depending on how you set it up, it's going to either be 1 or 3. If we jump over to the next tab here under the reviewers, I can see again how many words are written. I really like this. Give me a quick glance to see, are my students writing enough? Are they doing okay here? And also, I can quickly see how many reviews they've done. And there's also other sorting and attributes you can sort by here. Really easy, just a one-click, drag and drop down. So also in the results tab is the rubric. What I like about this part of the rubric is the agreement here. How well are your students doing on each section of the rubric? Is there a question that's really causing some confusion or trouble? You can look at the average score per question as well as the agreement. So this really can give you a lot of feedback on which part of the rubric are your students struggling with. Do your students need to work on the method or the argument? Are their introductions weak or strong? So I really like how you can quickly get a good feel for how are my students doing on this rubric, and did I put a rubric question in here that kind of stumps them or just causes a lot of inconsistency? So if we get a quick view of that here. All right, so Peergrade, again, has 3 plans available. The first one is the free one. You can do ADI with the free plan. It requires a lot of logging in and logging out for student and passing the computer around, one computer for a group of 3. But it is totally possible to do peer review with ADI and Peergrade with the free version. However, the basic and pro versions add some things that will really let you to kind of step it up a notch. So again, you can add this self-evaluation piece here in the basic section. Submitting as a group, you can assign students to be groups and assign which groups review who. So here is more of how it's done, paper and pencil, a little more traditional. We assign to groups, things like that. You can also let students that were either absent or were late for some reason, whether it's an ELA issue, English language learners or special ed, students can still review even if they haven't submitted. And now your maximum file size is up to 500 megabytes, gigantic. I can't imagine ever needing that much. So they've really given you plenty of space for your students to submit virtually any type of file possible. And of course, if you want to go top of the line, the pro version here, you get everything in the basic, plus getting to align with your LMS and integrate there, so you can question weights and categories, things like that. And of course, up to 2 gigabytes now for the file size. Again, that is more than you'll ever need. So Peergrade's thought of you guys. They have you taken care of here, whichever version you wind up using. I've really enjoyed using it, even in some of my first workshops. The first time people have been introduced to ADI, we'll throw them into Peergrade as well, and they've been able to hop in and make it work. So here's a way to save a lot of paper, save a lot of time. And if you want to get started with Peergrade Pro, 3 months of Peergrade Pro, when you create your account, there's this button over here, codes. So find codes, enter ADI PG19. So ADI, Peergrade for 2019. So ADI PG19, it'll get you 3 free months of Peergrade Pro. So just jump into that, the most advanced version there. Don't be afraid to create an account. Give this a try. It really, really is an intuitive software platform. Tyler and Victor, shout out to them at Peergrade, have been really easy to work with, really, really responsive. If you're ever in Peergrade and you have a question or have an issue, there's a button you can click, type in your question, and they get back to you. They will get back to you during your class time. Super fast feedback, super fast support. So I can't say enough about how great it's been to work with them. And so before we break for some questions, I'm going to finish it up and then we'll go for some questions here. So that kind of shows Peergrade. Again, I promise it's even prettier in person than my screenshots with some shadows makes it look. But I do want to talk about kind of the supports we have before. So wrapping it up here, Peergrade, I promise, again, I've mentioned it multiple times, it is really intuitive. That create class, create assignment button. It's right there. It's color coded and it's there for you to use. So I mentioned the great and fast support. The free version works, but the other versions are even better. And of course, here we always want to save trees, and it will save you a lot of time. So I've been happy with our Peergrade use, and I hope to see it. Some more tweets from teachers using it as well. So As you go to use ADI, I want you to remember that we have several different ways to support you in the classroom. The first one is our books, and our books that are not out yet are coming up just around the corner. Third grade around in March, and then fourth and fifth grade just after that. So we'll have third through 12th grade books. We also offer a lot of face-to-face workshops. So Ashley and I think we did 15 workshops in the month of January from Atlanta to California, all across the country. We will go to you. We will help you with ADI and implement ADI. And we can even use Peergrade in our workshops if you'd like to see how that works. So bring us in, show your teachers how to do ADI, help you feel more confident in implementing stages 1 through 8. If you are an ADI, a junkie or guru, a groupie, if you will, and you want to really dive deeper into ADI and maybe train teachers in your own district, we have 2 Train the Trainers coming up both in the Dallas area. First one's in March, then the next one in July. So this is a 4-day training. We teach you how to run a workshop on ADI, and then we practice that. We do some rehearsal teaching workshops, and then we have a chance to network with other districts and kind of see what's working for them. So these are kind of our big kind of grand workshops here. And if you really want to learn more about ADI, I recommend jumping into Train the Trainer. Our website, and no surprise, is argumentdriveninquiry.com. We have a lot of free resources available there on our downloadable materials. We also have a YouTube channel there under youtube.com/argumentdriveninquiry. If you're not on Twitter, I can't recommend it enough. There's so many cool things going on in Twitter. Our Twitter feed is full of teachers using ADI, pictures and videos from their classrooms. So jump in, take a look at what's going on in the Twitterverse. And of course, we have a Facebook group. Take a look at our Facebook page there, and there's a group inside of it called Argument Driven Teachers. Feel free to request to join that. We will let you in, and a great place to post the good things that are going on, questions you have, just another network for teachers that are using ADI. So take advantage of the online social media that we use and to help you out with all of your ADI investigations. So if you want to learn more, take a look again there. I'm going to leave these up here, and I'm going to turn it over to Ashley to see maybe she's seen the questions and maybe she wants to jump in and answer it. I think we've heard enough of my voice. So Ashley, turning it over to you.
Adam, I could never hear enough of your voice. What do you mean? Yeah, I hear way too much of your voice, actually. So we've actually gotten a couple of pretty good questions. I'll take some time to go ahead and answer them. I've done quite a few on the Q&A. First off, though, Scott Mathis let me know that he found our ADI for Peergrade rubric and he used it today. So it's up there. Yeah, thanks, Scott, for that. And then I got a couple of questions. Most of these are just about very kind of specific things or troubleshooting with Peergrade. So I want to just make a blanket statement that Peergrade has killer customer support. If you go onto their website, at the bottom right-hand corner, I believe, there's like a little speech bubble that pops up, and it doesn't even pop up. It's just always there. And if you click it, what's going to come up is something that says, "Hi, your name," and you're going to see "Start a Conversation," and there are all those fun, friendly people there ready to chat with you in real time. You don't have to wait on an email. And I know that these are all real, actual live people because I know them and recognize their faces. They're there to help you. They want you to be successful with using Peergrade. So please reach out to them. I got a good question about how is this different from Google Classroom. So it's not meant to be like a replacement for Google Classroom or anything like that. Peergrade actually integrates really seamlessly with Google. It's a really nice way to do double-blind peer review. That's a little bit, in my experience, more difficult in Google Classroom. And this is really designed to give sophisticated feedback to students and sophisticated feedback about their feedback. Which is awesome, right? You can have students' responses get flagged. They can see how their peer feedback kind of aligns with the peer feedback of their own peers. As a teacher, you can see, Adam was earlier talking about how well students' feedback agrees with each other and tracking the feedback that students get on certain questions. So just from a teacher's perspective, you have a lot more tools than you would just using this in Google Classroom, which is just a little bit different of a tool from this one. It doesn't mean that it's not really a one or the other thing. Obviously, or sorry, not obviously, can ultimately definitely use these together. They're really seamlessly integrated. Peergrade's done a lot of good work trying to make sure that this fits with Google Classroom really well. The other questions I got were pretty specific to just needing some help with Peergrade. So again, I can't stress enough how awesome their customer service is. You can type something right in the box there and they will chat with you and give you a hand. And I got one last question. How do we share the submitted work to students from other students for peer review? Actually, the students do that. So it's done automatically, and it just goes immediately in there. And if you want to do it in some other way, you can contact Peergrade and check out some of the more kind of sophisticated methods, but it's pretty simple. They upload it, it goes to a person. And when they do Peergrade, they are still doing those 3 peer reviews in a group, right? So they're doing those in the Peergrade platform. Does Peergrade have an app to run on iPads? Peergrade runs on iPads just fine. Peergrade.io will run on an iPad equally as well as it runs on a computer. No issues there at all. You don't need an app. You can just use the internet. They might have an app. I actually don't know if they do or they don't, but I do know that it works really, really well on iPad. And the process of using one computer with the basic version, that'll be the last one I take. If you guys need any other help, you can, of course, email me. One of the really easy ways to do this on the computer with the basic version is just to log in and go ahead and review the one that came up on a student's login, have that student log out, have the next student log in. That's one way that you can do it. If you have multiple computers, you can do it that way. Of course, that's the low techiest version. Peergrade has some really cool and sophisticated options, and I would definitely defer to them for finding some of those more interesting, kind of cooler ones. What about a Chromebook? Yes, it works on everything. Okay, I mean, I think that's pretty much most of the questions. If I didn't get to you, please feel free to reach out and email us. You know, we're always here to answer any of your questions. You can email Adam at argumentdriveninquiry.com, or you can email me. I'm Ashley at argumentdriveninquiry.com. But if it's a Peergrade specific question, gosh, they're just really awesome about telling you everything you need to know about Peergrade. I would definitely defer to them. They can help you with anything that you need. And with that, I think we're closing. Oh, question, are you going to be at NSTA in St. Louis in April? Yeah, we will. And with that, I think that's all we got for today.
Awesome. Thanks, Ashley. I'm going to shut this down. I will post this video to YouTube, and you will get an email with the link within about 24 hours from now. So thank you for attending, awesome. And we'll see you guys online.
Oh, wait, Adam, real quick. Can you repeat that code for Peergrade Pro?
It was ADI PG19.
Cool. All right. Thank you all.